What's up guys, Colin Brittain here. I'm going to show you how some of my presets work found in my STL ToneHub preset pack. So this is a clean tone that I've got. It's like a semi-clean tone. It's like an orange rocker verb 50, I believe, because I really like some of the orange sounds on clean tones. It's got a nice little top layer of distortion while the bass in the mid is more clean. And it really depends on how hard you're hitting the guitar. So I can show you just like this one really quick. I've got a little bit of delay, a little bit of reverb. So what I've got on here, I love the delay on this, and it looks like I don't have any reverb on this. The delay is just kind of washy, and it's really doing what the reverb would normally do. No other effects, just the delay. The delay is one of my favorite parts about the STL ToneHub pack. In all of them, they're all the same, but it's got a really nice wide stereo feel to it, and it almost reminds me of like a Strymon delay. So it's really clean and really beautiful and really deep sounding. And you can kind of make it sound a little bit more wobbly, like a little bit more analog if you want, if you turn up the rate or the depth here. So you can see if I turn up the rate and the depth, especially the depth, if I turn up the depth all the way, you can really hear how it kind of starts warbling a little bit. And I'll actually turn the mix up all the way so you can just hear the delay. The other cool thing about the delay that I really love, that I think is really important to a lot of my tones, is pre-amp or post-amp. And so if you just flick this little button right here, pre to post, and make it pre, you'll need to turn down the mix knob because the amp actually picks up the delay and amplifies it a lot more. So I would turn the mix down a lot, but it really feeds the delay into the amp, so it kind of dirties up the delay a little bit. So you're like, and that's really good for tones like, you know, can really get a lot of really cool stuff. You can almost do like some U2 style dotted note delays if you turn the time knob here. Let's see if we do like a 8th note, you know. Let's see what the tempo of the song is. Really cool stuff. One of my other favorite presets is this one. It's called Crappy Console, and this is my API console here. There's no amp, it's just the guitar DI going straight into the console, and this is what it sounds like when you just dime the preamp up and use completely just inline console distortion. Pretty cool. Different sound, but definitely fills a cool space. Sometimes I use this preset actually to layer in like another guitar layer under big amp tones to give it a little bit more of a unique fuzz space, because you don't want to always just layer a bunch of amps on top of each other, because then they kind of fill the same space and it gets phasey and it sounds further away. So this is a good trick if you want to layer this in with another guitar amp to kind of make it sit a little bit heavier in the mix. Alright, another really cool preset that I like is called Collard Greens. This is actually something that I created with my friend Jerry Horton from Papa Roach. It's a Morin head, which is actually the original Morin head that they used to create Last Resort with. This tone does not sound anything like Last Resort because it's very different, purposed very differently. But I believe we had Marshall, an old vintage Marshall stack back there, half stack, 4x12 with Celestians in it, I believe. Just the typical 421 and 57 on it, with a little bit of distressor compression back there, and a little bit of this API 550A EQs on it. But this is a really good, like, sort of middle of the road rock tone. It's not too hype, it's not too lo-fi, it sits right in the middle, and it works for a lot of really cool stuff. So you can really hear it when it opens up. This works really good for big kind of chimey rhythm chords. Or you could almost add a little bit of extra EQ. And if we twist some of these knobs and we just like maybe filter it a little bit more, and then we just boost all these frequencies in here. I really love the EQ section. Get kind of a little more of a filtered guitar sound. This is a really versatile preset. I highly recommend it. One of my favorite presets that we have in here is called Trophy Size Lead. I made this with my friends in the band Trophy Eyes when I went to Australia last year. So this is modeled after a Princeton, but I got a ton of delay on it. And again, this is the delay going before the amp. So it's going to have a little bit of a dirtier tone to it. This is really great for like Kings of Leon style leads, stuff that you really want to be big and maybe not too modern, but big and like open and like bendy. That really works really well for these big longing lead chords. You know, long tail. Or if you wanted to do something like a little prettier, you know. Got a really cool like tail on it. It works really well again for like adding that little extra depth, that little swimmy, more ambient depth to your music. You can use this tone on vocals if you turn down the gain on the amp. You can use this on vocal samples, or you can use this on like keyboards or anything that you want to have like a little bit more of a throw with a little bit of filter and a little bit of more harmonic distortion on it. This preset works really well. One of my favorite parts of recording a live band, or at least a rock band, is bass tones. And one of my favorite kinds of bass tones is that grindy, dirty, heavy bass tone that's well-rounded, that doesn't kill the low end. I noticed that a lot of presets that I've heard in the past, or like Kemper profiles, sometimes dirty bass tones sound more like guitar amps and not like a bass amp, or like they sound too scooped and they don't have enough low mid-range to it, and it just becomes clinky, or sometimes the bottom end kind of falls out of it. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. I really wanted to create a bass tone that was accurate to my records, and one of the big things that I always do with bass tones is I always try to record an actual bass cabinet with a bass head or a bass amp of some kind, along with a DI. So this particular preset, I think STL did an especially good job of recreating. This one's called Grime Again. This is something that I worked on with my buddy Tobin from Papa Roach. Shout out to Tobin for helping me make this one. This is just an Ampeg SVT, which is the only amp that I wound up having in the studio at the time. I a lot of times use like a Portaflex or something like that, but lately I've been really digging this Ampeg SVT, just going through the Ampeg SVT 8x10, like the refrigerator. And that seems to work on a lot of stuff, especially for this big heavy stuff. So this is what it sounds like with my fingers. Lighter. And if you pick it, Very, very useful. Another thing that you can do with this one, if you turn the gain down a little bit on it, and then we go over here to our effects. I love putting chorus on bass. It's one of my favorite things to do. So if I roll off the tone knob a little bit, make it a little darker, turn the rate down so it's not super fast, turn the depth up maybe 50%, and then we'll get this kind of nice little like post-grunge. And if we turn the depth up like all the way, and maybe the level up a little bit more, you'll really be able to hear what it's doing. That sounds really cool for like Nirvana sort of tones, anything that's like circa the early 90s, any of the grunge scene, chorus into an SVT, that'll get you there.